What's going on, YouTube? Back today with another video, and this is something I kind of wanted to talk about for a little bit now, but I've been kind of waiting for everything to settle down a bit before I discussed it and gather my thoughts on it and not have a knee-jerk reaction to all of this. So today's video, by the title, obviously, is my thoughts on the whole M390 situation. This has been going on now for, month and a half, 2 months probably at this point. And I feel like I've got a good enough handle on my opinions on it, so I felt like I wanted to talk about that. And this has been a very, very popular issue that's been talked about everywhere. I've seen it on Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, the Reddit Discord, Blade forums, the Spyderco forums. It's basically blown up, and that's awesome. It's great that everybody's talking about it because this is an actual issue. But I felt like I should give my opinions on it, just because I'm part of the group that basically started that. And yeah, let's hop right into it. First off, I may hurt some feelings with my opinions, but these are my unbiased opinions, and I hope that you guys can at least appreciate that. And even though they may not be the same as yours, or you know, people that you watch frequently, or even the guys that I do my testing with. So basically what's been happening is we've been getting some perceived low results on M390 and its counterparts like 20CV, 204p, that kind of stuff. And yes, they are low, but at the same time, I don't really have an issue with it as long as it's in the manufacturer's stated range. So like, let's say Benchmade with their 20CV, they say it's 59 to 61, which is what they think it should be in that range. And as long as it comes back in that range, that's fine. That's what they set out to do. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Where I do have an issue is if a company, like we'll use Benchmade again, that says, you know, 59 to 61, and it comes back like my Anthem did at 57. Now that is an issue because you're stating something, you're stating that that knife will be at a certain hardness, and then you're completely missing that hardness. And I honestly, I think all of these knives should be tested before they leave the factory to make sure they're within this range that they should be in. That's my only issue with this. If a manufacturer has a stated range on their website, you pretty much know what you're getting, and that's up to you at that point. Now, Spyderco is a little bit different because they don't advertise any of that stuff, but generally they seem to be pretty darn good as far as hitting their heat treat marks. Their M390 has been a bit spotty, but not too bad. At this time, I don't really think it's possible for a production company to hit 62 to 64 consistently. Obviously, there will be unicorns that come out of the factories like Gerald's 62 HRC PM2. And so, I mean, there's always going to be those outliers, but I think for the most part, M390 is just going to be kind of a disappointing steal if you're expecting premium performance at this point. I'm not sure if it'll get better with technology as it goes on, but something that made me reconsider this point a little bit is Best Tech put out a response saying that it costs them the same amount if they're going 59 as it does if they're going 63. And I don't really know how they're doing that. Maybe it's different overseas. Maybe some of these American companies is a little bit more expensive for them. I'm not sure, but that does make me question that point just a little bit, but they still think that their knives should be in that, I think it was like 59 to 61. They said that was the best balance between all the properties from what they found. Now, talking about us or even you as the viewer, as a consumer, if you want a knife that's in that 62 to 64 range that's considered optimal, I think you pretty much just have to go to a custom maker right now. And I think it's kind of unfair to expect these production companies to hit the 62 to 64 mark because M390 is a highly process intolerant steel. Kind of like D2, it's got a very small window from going from the heat in the ovens directly to a quench. And the longer that time period takes, the more hardness you lose. And when you're talking about batches of 100, 200, 300 knives, it's hard to move that many knives in a very time efficient manner. Banner 24/7 has covered this extensively, so I won't get too far into that. But I just don't think it's fair to expect a production company to do that just yet. I think it might be coming in the future, especially with everything that we're, putting out there at this point. I definitely think that they can do it, but they might have to charge a little bit more for it. The other thing is, how do we even know that 62 to 64 is optimal? There's so few knives out there in that hardness range for M390 that it's not really common knowledge yet. I think it was Elliot at Ferrum Forge said that 63, 64 is what they shoot for, and that's the best balance of properties. Well, that's the same thing that every other maker says when they're running it at 59 to 61 or 60 to 62. They always say that that's the best balance of properties that they found. We don't necessarily know that this is a steel that's, best balanced at 62 to 64. We don't know what the trade-offs are for it yet. I just the other day found a custom maker that was running S30V at 65. That sounds absurd, but I mean, that might be, as far as a custom maker goes, that might be what he figured out is the best for what he's looking for. Obviously, we can go up to that 64 range for M390 and get higher edge retention, but what are the trade-offs? What toughness are we losing? What ease of sharpening are we losing? I think for production companies, they're more concerned with the end user, and I think us as enthusiasts are such a small portion of that. That brings me back again to, if you want that hardness, you almost have to go to a custom maker. And honestly, for what you're getting, there's custom makers out there like Triple B or Case Knife Switzerland that are running these things at, the perfect hardness that us edge retention junkies are looking for at a somewhat reasonable price. Especially Roman over at Case Knife Switzerland, his knives are very, very inexpensive for what you're getting as far as heat treatment goes. So the range that these production companies are running at is probably subpar, but that's what they set out to do. It's not like, it's a bit lazy what they're doing, running it at this hardness and not trying to push it a little bit, but it's not like they're lying, especially if they're advertising the hardness. That's up to the end user to figure out and make an educated decision on. That brings me to my next point. I'm not necessarily advocating for companies to take it to 64, and like I said, we aren't sure of the trade-offs of it yet. I don't think for the general public that M390 20CV 204P at 64 would necessarily be the best for them. If you're talking about knife aficionados, like if you're watching this video, I'm sure you are, yeah, that would be great if they could all be run at that. But I think for a production company, it just doesn't make sense. And as far as the whole warranty standpoint on having to warranty blades that may be used improperly or the edge might be chipping out or something like that, I don't know. It sucks that we have to think that way, but I think the companies are making the best financial decision. And to think, most of us are buying, knives like these three I have here on the table for you guys to look at. If you're buying knives of this caliber, like even this custom knife factory, that's an M390 at, that was like close to $400, you could easily take that money to a custom knife maker and get a nice little fixed blade in M390 at 64 and probably spend right about the same amount of money. So, I think production companies are thinking that if you're an edge junkie or looking for the maximum edge retention of the steel, your options are out there to go elsewhere. And I don't know. I just don't think it's really fair to expect a production company to be able to run this steel in particular that high of a hardness. The other issue is companies like, I don't really want to call anybody out, but the Kershaw dividend at an M390. That seemed like a great deal, but you had to have known that an M390 knife at $80 was going to be missing something. Something wasn't going to be right there. They're sacrificing something, especially being made in the U.S. There's no way that it's going to be as good a performing as this Shiro at $700 at $70. It's just, it sucks that companies are starting to pick up on the fact that that's what we're asking for. So they're using these steels, but they're running them to softer hardnesses so they don't perform any different than, say, the S35VN here in the Sinkosi. So that's something you got to watch out for. If it's a deal that seems too good to be true for M390, it probably is. The point of my videos on any of this steel, or I mean any steel in general, but M390 especially, is just to educate people. I think you guys should use my videos or anybody else's videos like Super Steel Steve, Outpost 76, any of the other edge retention testing guys, to just make an educated decision on buying knives. I think you have to have realistic expectations on knives and M390 at this point. It's pretty much common knowledge. LTK has done an awesome job at pushing this and making this issue very well known, especially with the Lion Steel stuff. And I think more and more people are going to be making educated decisions. And I'm willing to bet that companies are going to start raising their hardness a little bit in response to this. Tuya Knives already did. So, I mean, they're just one of the first, and I think that there will be many to follow. Now, personally, I won't be buying any sub 60 M390 anymore, just because I've seen the performance of it. You guys have seen the performance of it. You guys have seen the performance of a 62 HRC PM2 and M390, and just how much better that can be than even something at 60. So, I mean, I won't be buying anything sub 60 anymore, and if that means I have to go to a custom maker to get it, so be it. The price isn't that much crazier, honestly, if you know where you're looking. So, those are my opinions on the whole M390 issue, and I hope that you guys understand where I'm coming from. I know my opinions differ a little bit from other people. I hope you guys respect my opinions and can maybe sympathize or can relate a little bit. So anyhow, guys, I really appreciate you guys watching this video and taking the time to listen to my opinions. I know it may be boring. I hope the 3 knives here on the table as eye candy kind of made up or made it worth your while to sit here and listen. But thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.